to capture your attention. It's like, oh my gosh, like I'll make you a millionaire by 22, and everyone's like, yes. And it's like, no. That's not like investing. Like putting $100 in the stock market. You're not going to be a multimillionaire by 22. I wish I could like make a class like required for everyone freshman year of college of just like kind of learning like what investing is, like the different parts of it, just like very, very basic. I feel like if people kind of knew, oh, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in all of these different things, derivatives, options, all the things, then it would be like, okay, this kind of lines up with my values.
Your generation can place a trade on your phone. Mm-hmm. You can have an account. You can open an account from your phone, from your iPad, from all these different choices. Yeah. You have this 24-hour news cycle. If you don't know a company or you're not familiar with what they do, you can look it up.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another edition of the Financial Puzzle Playbook with your host, Jim Sumpter. I'm RJ Malik, producer of this podcast. And Jim, I see you have your guest coming back for part 2 of your conversation. So why don't you introduce her again and tell us what you're going to be talking about on this podcast.
Thank you, RJ. And yes, we are very excited to have Vivi Spotswood back for part 2. We touched on this a little bit in the last episode, got to know Vivi. We talked a lot about money mindset,
Yes.
And sort of your ventures as a college student. We're going to shift gears a little bit on this episode and focus a little bit more on the investment side of sort of your generation versus some of the other generations, how you think, and it's going to dovetail back to mindset. But where we talked a lot about cash flow and budgeting, and the last one, we'll focus a little more on the investment side on this one. So Vivi, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
This is part 2 of this 2-part episode. So Vivi, just if someone missed it in the last episode, you're a rising junior at Ole Miss.
Junior, yes.
And go ahead and say it.
Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy. Yeah, there you go. I knew she was going to get it in, so I might as well go ahead and do that. Okay. And so you're an entrepreneurship and finance major and a marketing minor.
Yes.
And we touched on that a little bit. And then last episode, we talked about your walk-up song. This episode, I know you love to travel. I want to get into that a little bit and a little more in this episode. But what is your favorite place that you've traveled to?
Probably Paris.
Paris, okay.
Yes, we went for my senior trip, my family and I did. And I love the culture. Like, it was just so fun. And I mean, it's gorgeous. So, yeah.
Well, I can't let you leave without asking this question. What is the shortest trip that you've ever taken?
Oh, yeah, my study abroad, 4 days. Supposed to be there 6 weeks, 4 days in, broke my foot. Had to come home. It's a very funny story, though, because they had a plaster cast me. I was at the hospital for 10 hours in Austria. So that's it's a little room. It's about this size in here.
Right.
And they just got some doors behind, and you're just hoping to get in. 10 hours later, I get in, plaster cast me, and they made the little yellow crutches that don't really work. And so I come back to America the next day because I called my mom, and I didn't tell her that I was in the hospital. I didn't tell her what happened because I was kind of just oh, great, this is not real life. And so I FaceTime her, 10 hours later, and she's like, hey, how are you? You've been sleeping all day. Are you good? And I was and I just I had my foot in the plaster cast. She was like, oh. And so I come back to the States, and we go to the orthopedic surgeon here, and they're like, wow, we haven't seen one of these casts in, 10 years. And I'm like, oh, awesome. And then they were joking, and they're like, yeah, so they hung my crutches up on the wall, and they're like, for all the bad kids that come in, we're going to threaten them having to use these. I'm like, I went through the, Germany airport in those, trying to hobble along. It was something. So.
Yeah. So
4 days. That's my record.
4 days on a 6-week venture.
Yes.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Okay. So we'll get into a little more travel in just a little bit. So as a finance major at Ole Miss, one of the things that you have started doing is, aside from the schoolwork, you've started focusing on maybe some of the investment regulations, the tests, things like that. So you have an investment philosophy.
A little bit.
It's a little bit different for your generation, maybe than my generation, as far as how you invest. I think when I was in school, I tell my girls all the time, I went to school did not have the internet. I had to, do a research project. You had to go look up books on the Dewey Decimal System in the library. You had all of your books laid out. 5 cents a page to make photocopies. You used a highlighter.
Right.
You guys now go in and just boom, 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 and everything's digital.
Yeah.
Well, investments. I know when I started in my career, when I would put in a trade, we had to handwrite a ticket. And you put it in the little tube and it went back to the cage. This is when I was at Merrill Lynch. Today, I can place a trade on my phone.
Yeah.
Your generation can place a trade on your phone. You can have an account. You can open an account from your phone, from your iPad, from all these different choices. You have this 24-hour news cycle. If you don't know a company or you're not familiar with what they do, you can look it up.
Yeah.
Me, I had to go to the library, Dewey Decimal System, find it all that way. So it's different.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of get into this whole investing mindset of Generation Z. Let me ask you this. What would motivate someone your age, because you're 20, is that right? Okay, you're 20, a rising junior. What would even intrigue somebody about beginning to invest as a college student? Because let me tell you, when I was a college student, I knew how to spell stock, and I knew how to spell bond, but as far as what they did and all that, even though I was a finance major, it was not top of mind.
I feel like honestly, it is still a lot the same. I feel like most people don't know anything. They think about investing, and they're like, oh yeah, like at the stock market, and then it's like, well, like tell me a little more, and like there are some other things, and it's like, I don't know, like Bitcoin. Like that's kind of like where they go, like, and no one really knows anything. And so it's kind of still like not changed that much. And I feel like most people, they're like investing. I need to invest because I'm broke, but then it kind of ends there, and it's like, like I don't really know what to do next.
So it's you said something interesting. I need to invest because I'm broke. Thinking that there's going to be an immediate gratification.
Yes, 100%. It's like, I feel like in a lot of people, it's like stock market, I'm going to put $5 and buy a stock, and I'm going to make $50 by the end of the week. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's not really how it works.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the one to tell you that.
Yeah. That's an enormous return if you can make that happen, by the way.
Yeah.
You would have a better chance of putting $5 on Alabama winning the football game.
Exactly.
Not Ole Miss, but Alabama winning the football game.
Yeah. Maybe that Georgia lottery, the one.
Oh,
the big
yeah,
one.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So even though you're a finance major, even though you're an entrepreneur major, investing is not first and foremost in everybody's mind.
No.
Yet, if I am skimming through, and I'm going to jump to social media just a second. So I have a TikTok account. I do not know how to make a TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay. But I know how to scroll.
Okay.
One of the things that I see a lot of time is all of these experts on TikTok. So it's your generation getting information different than the Dewey Decimal System.
Yes.
What are you seeing on social media that is either teaching you or intriguing you or going, yeah, they're just wrong? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a lot of like, the problem with social media is you can just post anything and it doesn't matter. Like I can say that I'm an expert in something and, give some advice, and people are like, oh yeah, she's an expert. I'm like, no, like I was just sitting in my bedroom and like this thought came to me. So I feel like it's a little bit of, you're just getting fed like randomness. Like my, social media is a little bit more specific just because I kind of do like search up like, finance, or I'll search up like something I'm trying to learn. But I mean, a lot of my friends is just like random things of, like randomness. I don't even know, like dances or whatever.
Right.
And so, I mean, like cooking, like it's just like the most kind of anyone is posting anything and claiming that they're, like a professional in the field. And it's like, okay, but you don't really have, like, maybe you have an online certification, but what does that actually mean? Like, where did it come from? And what are you actually certified in specifically? So I don't know. It's a little bit kind of that gray area where, I mean, who knows like what you're learning is real. And like not a lot of people kind of use social media to find actual educational information. It's mostly just used to like pass time. And if they want something educational, they're going to ChatGPT to look up the answer immediately. And then that's kind of like where the learning ends.
Right. So do you feel like because your generation seems to be very inquisitive,
Mhm.
that if you don't know something, you're going to go look it up.
Mhm.
And do you feel like all of the plethora of resources that are out there, some very good and some maybe not so good,
Yeah.
how do you distinguish between the two, or do you?
I mean, it kind of depends like what you're looking up. Like if I'm looking up, you know, what is an ETF or something, like I'm honestly gonna go to ChatGPT. And
Okay.
like I feel like a lot of my friends for like the quick answers, like they're just gonna, like we've got so much AI technology now that it takes like one text in and then it's like you've got the little like diagram of like this is it compared to this and this. And I mean that's kind of like all, but then it doesn't really you don't learn like, oh, like what does this mean? What does this mean for my future? Like let me diversify my portfolio, like any of that. It's very just like quick fix because we want an answer now and like we want to like not have to think about it in like 5 minutes.
Right. And so you mentioned ETF.
Mhm.
You know what that is.
Oh,
I
but
know
I'm
what
the
that
only
is.
one. Not one of my friends knows
Not
what
one
that
of your
is.
friends.
No.
Okay. So if I went to one of your friends and said, okay, let's go buy an exchange traded fund, they're going to look at me like I have like
They'd
12
be,
eyes
yeah,
or
they'd
something.
be like, is that like a type of purse?
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Okay. So that's interesting. What do you feel like there is a difference between genders in your generation that because we were talking about girl
mhm.
math, I think in the last
Yeah, yeah.
episode, do you feel like females think maybe one way and males think another when it comes to this topic, or is it all the same? Because you have
I think
guy
it's a
friends and
little, yeah, I
girlfriends.
think it's a little bit of both. I also think it kind of is like where you're at. Like, so when I was, my 4 days abroad, I met a lot of people at Georgia and there was a lot of girls that were finance majors. And so they all kind of had internships and were very much like knew everything that I knew. But then at Ole Miss, there's not that many girl finance majors and there are more guy finance majors. And I mean, I haven't really taken that many classes yet, so I haven't really gotten to see it yet. But it definitely is like kind of, I feel like where you're at school where most of my classes are guys and I'm talking like, yeah, I want to do this and this. And they're like, okay, like, yes. Whereas a lot of my friends are kind of just like, oh, like I want to be, something like not really chill and don't really think about finances. And I also think it's a little bit of like me being raised by two parents that are in the finance world
Mhm.
and have kind of just like I'm the oldest, so I'm the closest with them. Like it's just I've grown up like I'm just very, very close to my parents. And so I'm kind of in the like drive mindset that they have about money, whereas a lot of people just don't have that when their parents aren't in finance and they haven't been like kind of raised by that.
Right. So as you know, I know your
Mhm.
mom very, very
Mhm.
well. She is actually one of my mentors, and I would
Yes.
tell her that, and
Yes.
she knows that. So Shannon, when you hear that on this
Yeah.
podcast, you know that. I also think she's one of the most badass women I've
Oh
ever
my
met.
gosh. Well, a million times all of my friends think so too. It's
Right.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
so the way she comes across is that persona. You're a
Mhm.
lot like her. She didn't start out that way.
No.
And so she has evolved and learned over
Yeah.
time. And so, it's interesting because she and I will talk a lot of times because yes, she's in finance. She's CEO of
Mhm.
our firm.
Yeah.
I'm an advisor, but what I do as an advisor is not what she
No.
does as CEO. Our
Right.
roles are very different, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about finance, when you're talking about investing, there's so many different
And I think
realms.
a lot of people don't know that. Like I don't even know a
Right.
lot of it. But I
Right.
know like a little bit more, but most people it's like finance, I don't know, money, like and that's kind of where it ends. And then it's like, well, there's so many different jobs and so many different like paths you can take and so many different mentors you can have. And I mean, it's a little bit of like people just don't know. And I think a lot of like I do, as I was saying before, it's a lot of like kind of where you're at school,
Right.
whereas at Georgia, they're way more like internship focused. And so I feel like they did know like the girls I knew and the guys I met, like they kind of had their like, futures like a little bit more planned out. Whereas a lot of us were just like, I mean, I don't really know. Like,
Yeah.
and so I don't
No, your
know.
brother's going to Georgia, right?
Yes, yes.
What's his major going to
He's
be?
gonna be finance
He's
too.
going to be finance.
So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, we've got the whole family thing. I don't know about my sister, but the two of us are gonna be like little fine. Yeah. So
Right. But finance is a big word.
yes,
And
yes.
what you do with that word is
Right.
very, very different.
Right.
It's kind of like, the whole purpose of this podcast is the Financial Puzzle Playbook.
Yes.
And, RJ alluded to this in the beginning. There's cash flow, there's investments, there's retirement, there's insurance,
Mhm.
income tax, estate. all of those are finance,
Yeah.
but all mean different things. So the whole
Right.
purpose of this podcast is we start drilling down on those, what I call puzzle pieces.
Yes.
And so as you're kind of thinking about your puzzle pieces as a finance major, you made an interesting point because you think finance money, and finance does, I guess, indirectly mean
Right.
money, but what it means, does it always mean investments? Does
Yes.
investments always mean stocks?
Right.
Does
Right.
investments
Exactly.
mean bonds? Or
Yeah.
does it,
Because I think a lot of it too is like, I mean, I only know this again because like kind of what my parents said and like what I've taught myself. But it's like, I mean, they don't even think about like, oh, real estate and all the derivatives. Like there's so many things. And I don't think any of my friends know anything. It's like any about that. And like maybe some of them do, and I'm not giving enough credit. But I think a majority, it's like, it's just not taught and nobody just knows. And so it's like, then, I mean, we graduate in 2 years and it's like, we're expected to know how to like pay our mortgages and pay, all of our bills and start like retirement funds and all the things. And it's like, wait, what? Like, what does any of this mean?
right.
Mhm.
I did a whole episode on mortgages,
Mhm.
on how does a mortgage even work?
Right.
And it was early on in the podcast. And one of the things that we talked about was, okay, what all information is going to be
Mhm.
needed? How does a mortgage work? What is interest? What does escrow mean?
Mhm.
Wait, you may not have to pay property taxes. What does that mean? What does that go for? So there's all these different pieces of these things that you do have to learn. And I think one of the things, going back to the social media, one of the problems that I see is when I do see a lot of things, it's like, that's just wrong,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And to your point, anybody can say anything.
Yeah.
And it's how believable are
Right.
they? So that's something that I would encourage is always, if you're going to do research, make sure that your sources are good
Yeah.
and don't just rely on one source.
Right. Well, it's a funny thing too. So it was literally last week, and I was scrolling on TikTok, and I had one, and it was like, I'll make you rich in like a year," and I was like, "What does this mean?" And so of course I watched it because I'm like, "What?" And so it was like, first you got to open up, a fund, and then you gotta like, and it was like, download this app, and then start investing in this, and then you're rich, you're a millionaire. And I was like talking to my dad about it because it was like the Apple Robinhood or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, "Have you heard about this?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, what does this mean?" He's like, "No, like you don't need to use that. Like, what is going on right now?" He was like, "Where are you coming from? Like, chill out. Like, what's going on?" And it was like, and I was like, "Well, the TikTok said I'll be rich in a year." And he was like, "Dude." And I was like, "No, I know, but like false hope." And he's like, No.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a lot of like, it's quick fixes. And it's like to capture your attention. It's like, oh my gosh, like I'll make you a millionaire by 22. And everyone's like, yes. And it's like, no. That's not like investing, like putting $100 in the stock market. You're not going to be a multimillionaire by 22. Like,
Right.
it's just, I don't know. And it's just like a lot of false information that's like, maybe the slide is like, you have the best luck ever and something does work out for you like that. That's awesome. But like, that's not reality.
Right. So what does your generation do? If that's the way that you're being not necessarily taught, but the resources that are available, what advice would you give to someone that's listening to this episode and going, wow, okay, that's what I thought. What advice would you give to them to make sure that they're learning the right way?
I mean, I think it's a lot about kind of like starting to make those connections and being like finding, like mentors and a little bit of like asking questions and then figuring out like what works for me. And then going back to like where, like if you have parents that set you up like in a fund or like kind of where your money has been going and then what works with that. Cause my dad was like, we have a Charles Schwab account. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, like I didn't know that was the same thing. Like, so it's just so much like information in one spot and this is the only thing that's right. And it's like, wait, no, that has actually nothing to do with like how you are. But I also think a lot of it's like a lot of my friends, like people I know, I feel like they're just, oh, that's, a problem when we graduate. I don't know. I mean, we're 20, like we don't need to start thinking about that. What do you mean a retirement fund? Like we're 20 years old. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I don't really think about it, but it's also like, it's always kind of in the back of my mind. And like, I've talked about it with my parents. They're like, no, you just like focus on right now a little bit and like, we've got you. But for some people, like that's not the case. And you do need to start thinking about it right now. And like, I'm graduating in 2 years. So that is going to become like actually what I need to be thinking about in the now. And so it's a little bit of just like figuring out like where you are and then what like the next steps to take are slowly, not so like I'm investing right this second and it's going to quadruple in a week and then it's going to keep building and building and I'm going to be a millionaire by 22 and I don't ever have to work a day in my life.
Right, right. So what do you think investing is? I look at investing as more of creating wealth, being consistent,
Yeah.
being diversified,
Yeah.
not putting all of your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Is that what y'all are being kind of taught through, so whether it's social media or a class or just chat with your friends?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really talk about it.
You
But
don't talk about it.
no,
Okay.
I don't
And that's
think,
fair.
yeah,
That's
like
a fair answer.
I really don't think people, as I was kind of saying, like no one wants to think about money because it's scary. Like I think a
Okay.
lot of people just kind of come at it as like a fear mindset of like, oh, I'm just gonna have my 9 to 5 job and I'm never gonna have to like worry about other ways to make money because it's hard and I don't really know what to do and it's scary because like what if I lose everything? And it's like, I mean, you can buy like, like you can invest in things that have like no risk that are, backed by the government or whatever. But I just think it's one of those things where, I mean, I think investing is like, yeah, kind of like what you're saying, I'm diversifying my portfolio and buying different things and investing in different things and like building slowly. But some people are just like, I don't know what an investment is,
Right, right,
So I
right.
don't know. It's just hard because we have so much information, but I feel like we have a lack of correct information of like, what's the next step?
Do you think sometimes it can be too much information?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
It's a million things coming at you at once. And like, I also like, I feel like this is just in general of like social media. It's like, you've got a million things coming at you. Like, this is how you should be spending your money. This is how you should be eating. This is how you should be working out. This is how you should be going out. Like, you've got so much information coming at you that it's like, I almost like, you can shut down and be like, wait, I don't even know like what's like up and down anymore. Like, I don't know anything about anything because it's so much coming at you. And it's a little bit of like taking a step back, as I was saying, and just evaluating where you are and like the next step, and not so, as I was kind of saying in the last episode, go watch it, is it's not all or nothing. Like, it's not an all or nothing like mindset. It's a little bit at a time.
Right. So how do you, Vivi,
Mhm.
let's put the Vivi
Yeah.
back. How do you go through that and work that out in your head, going, I know I need to learn this, but there's so much
Mhm.
information. Do you take a step back? Do you focus on it every day? Do you not focus at all?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I mean, I try and do, like, I was just studying my 65, and so that was a lot of information coming at me at once. I mean, it's like basically my dad was like, "You're trying to learn Mandarin again," because I took Mandarin when I was in like preschool.
Okay,
Besides
so
point.
wait, you have Mandarin, I have
Yes.
Japanese.
So
Go to that
we've got
last
it covered.
episode, we'll
Yeah,
figure that
no,
out.
exactly.
Okay.
So he's like, because I got a 50 on my test. It was my first time ever taking it. I mean, I'm 20. Like, I don't know anything about anything. And he was like, "That's amazing." And I was so mad at myself because I'm a like, I want to pass. Like, what do you mean I didn't pass? I got a 50. Like, are you kidding me? But I was like, that's incredible. Like, there is like I mean, you don't know anything. And so I think a lot for me is just, yeah, like taking it slowly and like learning like what you can, and then like taking a class. Like, I'm taking, my first like actual finance class like this semester, and then kind of like, oh, okay, like where, as we were talking about before that we started recording, like where do you want to kind of go, and like seeing like all the different routes you can take in finance, and just like one step at a time, kind of learning where you're at, and then looking at like just breathing and being like, it's going to be okay. Like, I don't need to do everything right now.
Right. So do you think the university does a good job of sort of explaining, here's all these different career paths, or is that something that academia could maybe take a step back and do a better job at?
I think it's hard because there's so many, like, it's kind of, you have to go in with like, okay, I think I want this. Because it's not like you kind of get there, and if you have no idea, you're like, okay, I'll just do general business because I have no idea. Like, and it's kind of a hard way to find, because there's like, I guess, classes when you can kind of like look at different majors, but not really. Like, you don't really look at different majors. It's kind of just like a, waste of time. And so I feel like it is hard because, yeah, if you don't have a class, like most people are just kind of general business majors. And then they're like, okay, like I need to pick a major. Like, I'm interested in real estate. I like houses, so I'll do real estate. Or I like interior design, so I'll do interior design. Or, oh, I mean, it'd be cool to be a nurse, so I guess I'll do some type of nursing. Like, it's just very, we don't have like, there's so much coming at us, but we don't know like all the different paths and everything. It's just like, if you're a nurse, you're going to be a nurse. If you're going to be in real estate, you're going to be in real estate. If you're going to be in finance, I don't even know what that means. Good luck. Like, You know what? It's just very like, or you're going to do marketing, like you're going to do social media marketing. It's like a lot of information, but then it's like very small at the same time because we don't know all the different paths, and you don't really learn it unless you learn it yourself.
Right. You know, it's very interesting because as I discussed in the last episode, where you're at today is no different than when I was in college 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wanted to be a finance major. I had no idea I wanted to be a financial advisor.
Exactly.
And here's the other thing is when I started my career 28 years ago as a quote unquote stockbroker, that is very different than what I do today as a certified financial planner, focusing on tax planning and estate planning and investment planning. I actually teach some classes now on those topics. I wasn't even really sure how to spell those when I graduated from college.
Right, exactly.
And so I think that we as a society, we've become so consumption driven that that's what we focus on.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this as you're going through, and I told you there wouldn't be any surprise questions. This may be a little bit of a surprise question. Do you have a routine that in the morning you do this and this and this, that you have what I call Vivi time before you kind of just take a deep breath and then you go about your day to where you can learn and do all the things you need to do? What do you do?
I'm the biggest routine person ever. My friends make fun of me. Like I will never strive my routine. Like they know me for part of my routine.
Okay.
And so I very much like my mom. So we're both very active. Like I've always been active. So, and I'm a Pilates instructor. So I get up every single morning and I like kind of just like take a second, get ready, and then always like make some breakfast. I'm obsessed with sourdough toast and eggs. So that's basically what I have every single morning.
Okay.
And
so you do cook?
I mean, I can make eggs. I can make eggs and toast.
Okay.
That's about, and I like to air fry those chicken sausages.
Okay.
That's about my cooking. And so I will always like have breakfast because my mom and I watched some podcast. And it was like, women need to eat right in the morning. We're like, okay. So, you know, I mean, we followed it. And I think it works. So, whatever.
Yeah.
And so then I will always make my coffee. My parents are big coffee drinkers. And so I've always been like, the 2 coffees a day is normal. And then I go to my friends and they're like, you drink 2 coffees every single day? And I'm like, yeah. Like, sometimes 3 if I need it. And they're like, oh my God, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, this is just like how I grew up. So I make my coffee and I go on my walk. And so I get my 10,000 steps in. I try to, like, in the morning, with my coffee, walk around the neighborhoods, walk around my university, wherever. And then that's kind of like my little bit morning. And then I'll always, if I work out, I work out 4 to 5 days a week doing Pilates. So then I'll go do my workout and go teach or whatever. And then I like to do my day. So I kind of like to get all of like my me time, my walking, my breakfast. If I work out, I mean, sometimes I'll work out in the afternoon, whatever. But that's like in the morning. And then I'll kind of be like, okay, do some class, you know, lunch, do the rest of my whatever I need. And then if I have to like work and I'm teaching or taking Pilates in the afternoon, I'll do that and kind of like move it forward. But my morning is my sacred time. I love like my breakfast, walk, and coffee is a non-negotiable for me.
So when breakfast, walk, and coffee is over, what time is it?
I mean, it depends if it's the school year or, you know, summer, because in the school year, I like to get up early. So I normally get up around like 7:30-ish. And so probably 10 is, I mean, because I don't have early morning classes. My earliest class is at 11. And then I have like kind of afternoon classes because I work good in the morning as like kind of workout and everything. But then I'm productive in the afternoon with like school and everything. So it's probably like normally around 10-ish. And then, I mean, you know, if I'm like working and I'm getting up at sometimes, you know, I'm teaching a 6 a.m. class. So then I'm, you know, walking after it, but then I'm getting up at 5 a.m. So it's a little bit of that, but I am a very like getting up. I'm not sleeping past 8 ever. Like I just need to get up and get my stuff done. So, yeah.
So you're in this routine. Now you do realize that, you know, you say, okay, done by 10, done by 8. You realize that, you know, a lot of people are like halfway through their work day by 10, right? Yeah.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people are halfway through their day, and then most of my friends wake up till like 11:30.
Oh,
so
okay.
For them, for me being, you know, walked, workout, and ate breakfast by 10 a.m. is, I mean, you're crazy. Like,
you're
what
crazy.
do you mean I haven't even like I'm still sleeping.
Yeah.
And so it's very much like that kind of college where, and like I'm talking, you know, I'm calling my mom because I call my mom on my walks every day. That's like our kind of us time. Like, I mean, if she's in a meeting, like she'll call me later, but I mean, I talk to her like every day on my walks. And yeah, so she's like been up since 5 a.m. and she's, you know, started meeting at 8. By 10:30, it's like almost lunchtime for her. And she's been in 4 meetings. And I mean, I'm like, you know, just getting up and going on my walk. But then, yeah, my friends are like, what? Like, oh my gosh, like I haven't even gone up yet. And it's like their days start at like 1. And so it's like it's this weird college kind of mindset where it's
Mhm.
like, but I also think I'm like, one thing is I'm like, okay, like for everyone, if you get what you need to be done, it doesn't matter because this is like the only time in our lives that we can, like, I mean, I wish I could sleep till 1, but I've always been, I wake up latest 8:30,
Right.
like latest. And it doesn't matter. Like if I go to bed at 4, I'm waking up at 8:30. But I'm like, you know what? Take the time to sleep if you want to. Just make sure you get your stuff done.
Yeah. Well, the key here is you have a routine.
Yes. Yes.
You're very structured in your
Yes.
routine.
Hi everyone, I'm Cassidy, the second C in CMC Financial. So dads sometimes get on a roll with this podcast and might forget to remind you about a few things. 1, don't forget to like and share this podcast and leave a review. 2, follow CMC Financial on all of the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And 3, go check out the website at cmcfp.com. Okay, back to my dad. He's probably still talking.
Let's go back to investing as we kind of begin to wrap up this episode here. You mentioned taking the 65.
Mhm.
Okay. So the 65 is an investment license
Yes.
that if you get into the investment world, the financial planning world, things like that, you will want to have that. So
Right.
you're trying to get a step ahead
Yes. Yes.
for that. What do you think would make you or make someone in your generation more confident investing? Because you alluded to a little while ago that there's risk,
Mhm.
and some people want to make this quick dollar, and I think
Yeah.
we would all agree that that's not reality.
Right.
You may get lucky every once in a while.
Yeah.
That is not a common thing. When you invest, it's to invest to build wealth, to
Yes.
create wealth,
Yes.
to create a routine of investing over and over and
Mhm.
over and over with a very disciplined strategy. If that's the goal, what would make you more confident in starting to invest or invest a dollar here and there, um, rather than just trying to buy, GameStop or this Robinhood
Yeah.
account or crypto or some more of these aggressive type things? What would make you more confident?
I feel like I wish I could like make a class like required for everyone freshman year of college of just like kind of learning like what investing is and like the different parts of it. Just like very, very basic. 'Cause I feel like if people kind of knew, oh, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in all of these different things, derivatives, options, bond, all the things, then it would be like, okay, this kind of lines up with my values and like I want, like it to be backed by the government. I want like that kind of like slow growth, but that's like building and I don't have to like worry about it. Or I'm like, no, like I've got some cash to spend. Like let's, make a high risk, like whatever. So I feel like that the more you can kind of just learn, like even the basics, like you don't need to go into, I'm a finance major. Like you don't need to be learning like what I need to be learning, but it's just a little bit of like what you can invest in and like how it kind of like gives you those returns and then what works for you and just kind of like stick with like just start off very, very basic. It's like anything, like learning a new language. You're like trying to learn hello, like just the littlest things that can kind of like be like, okay, well, I know this. And just knowing one thing gives you so much more confidence than trying to learn a million things at once. And you're like, I don't know anything because I'm trying to learn a million things.
Right. And I love that
Mhm.
because the follow-up question I was going to ask you is if a friend came to you
Mhm.
and said, Vivi, I want to begin to invest,
Mhm.
where do I start?
Yeah.
How would you answer that?
I mean, kind of like what I just said. I'd be like, okay, like let's look at, like what your values are, like what you want, kind of the growth you want, like where your finances are, like how much money do we have saved up, like, and how do you want this to kind of like be in the future? And then kind of go into like, all right, let's go look at some specifics. And this is like going to give you this return. And this is like, let's invest, like a fifth of what you have right now, just slowly. And we can always add more. And so just kind of, as I was just saying, starting so slow, but so it's like, because I feel like it's with anything. If you know one thing and you're just confident in one thing, it's like, oh, I got this. Like, I've got this. Like, and it gives you that confidence boost that you're like, okay, I could learn a little bit more. Whereas, yeah, when you're trying to learn a million new things, me trying to take the 65, I'm like sitting at the kitchen counter and I'm just like, I think the amount of times I was like, Dad, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And he's like, you're doing great. And I'm like, but I don't know anything. And so I go into this, like, and I'm like, I've got no confidence because I'm trying to learn a million things, but then it's like you focus on a couple things and you're like, oh, okay, I do know like what the difference is between, stocks and bonds. I know what the difference is between like, Roth IRA, traditional IRAs. Like, and it's like, oh, okay, like I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
Right.
So that's what I would say.
So basically start slow,
Mhm.
be consistent,
Yeah.
and don't try to put it all out there
Right.
at once. Just
Yeah.
very gradually, with consistency, I think
Yeah.
is the biggest phrase. As we begin to wrap up, what is something that you want to accomplish by age 25?
Oh, I've got some big goals.
Okay.
So I
I
want,
like big goals.
So I want to live in a city. I want to
Okay.
graduate, and I want to have my 65 by the time I graduate. So I'm hoping to pass, next year, going into senior year, get an internship next summer. And then I want to be setting myself up that like I'm basically financially free by the time I'm 25. So
Okay.
I don't really know. I'm still learning out like a lot of the details, but I'm very much like I always joke with my dad. I'm like, because I rode horses for so long. I'm like, I want to be able to afford a horse by the time I'm 25. And he's like,
Okay.
all right. So, we've got to start saving.
That's a goal.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to buy a horse, but I want I want to be like, I could if I wanted to.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What about by age 30?
Oh, I don't know. That's 10 years away.
That's too far out.
That's too far out for me. I'm
Okay.
trying. Yeah. But I want to be in a good place. Like, and I want to be, happy with where I am and being able to, I really want to be able to give back to my parents. And by the time I'm 30, I hope that I can buy my mom that designer bag and I can get my dad go spend 2 weeks down at the beach just because they've done everything for me and my siblings, and so it'd be really nice be able to give back to them a little bit of just oh my gosh, this is I couldn't have done this without you.
Yeah.
So
I was just thinking about something that you said, and then we're going to get into
Mhm.
rapid fire questions. But I think one thing advisors do a lot of time, and I'm gonna pick on my
yeah,
profession, okay, is we always look at your generation and we're like, well, you need to be doing this and this and this
Yeah.
and this. You need to have all these goals. So if I looked at you and I said, what does retirement look like to you? You're like, hell, I'm just trying to get out of my junior
right,
year.
exactly.
You said a second ago, I don't know, age 30 is 10 years from now.
Mhm.
So why in the world would we be thinking about 40 years from now,
Right.
or 50
Yeah.
years from now? The whole key to that, though, is being consistent,
Mhm.
saving, working towards a goal
Mhm.
that you may define the goal later on,
Yes,
but you're working towards a goal at
Right.
some point.
right.
So if you're starting to save,
Mhm.
it may be that at the end of the day, that money's used for, education for your child
Yeah.
that's not even going to be born for 5 or 6 or
Correct.
10 years. But you're doing something consistently.
Yes.
It may be that you use that money for a first home.
Yeah.
It may be that you use it to buy a horse.
Yeah.
It may be that you use it for other goals.
Yeah.
But the key is you're being consistent in
Mhm.
saving. And that's something that I do think you could do
Yes,
now.
I agree. And I think it's a lot of as kind of our parents, and then as hearing my friends talk, is there's so much pressure on you need to be doing all these things right now. And it's I'm saving, who knows what I'm saving for, but it's going to be there and I'm going to keep doing it. And so
Mhm.
it's a little bit of just not working. So, because I feel also social media, there's so much pressure in the future. You've got to be doing this and this, you've got to make it by this, all of these things. And it's a little bit of okay, live in the moment and, live right now, but keep it in your back pocket. It doesn't need to be, as I've been saying, kind of all or nothing. Save, but it doesn't need to be so this is exactly where I'm going to be in 10 years, because if you don't make that, it might, your values change, your ideas change and all of that. So
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Again, one of those mic drop moments. Okay. 5 final rapid fire questions, and then we'll finish up with part 2.
Perfect.
Stocks or real estate?
Stocks.
Okay. Crypto, are you in or out?
I wish I was in, but I have nothing. I don't know anything. So.
Okay. Roth IRA or brokerage account?
I don't really know.
Okay.
I'm
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't really know.
That's a fair answer.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were given $5,000, we did $1,000
Yeah.
in the last episode. Now we're going to up
Right,
it. If
okay.
you were given $5,000, what is the first thing you would invest in? Not buy, but invest in.
I would probably invest. I would invest in some stocks.
Okay.
And I've got a little portfolio, so I
Okay.
would invest in kind of what I've been spending, putting some money into, and just kind of build it a little bit,
Mhm.
hoping to, get some returns down in the future.
So my middle daughter, Madison, when
Mhm.
she graduated from college, she got a little money.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to invest in some stocks. And she's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I said, give me the top 4 things that you like.
Yeah. That's what my dad told us. I so remember it was my freshman year of high school. He was like, okay, I'm investing you in some stocks. What are your 5 favorite brands? And I was like, the only one I remember is I was like, Lululemon. Okay. I don't think Lululemon did too well that year, but I did learn. So I'm like kind of figuring out, and then like watching the stock market a little bit and seeing. I mean, my dad is on the stock market every day, so I kind of get to see like a little bit of that and just kind of slowly learn, like teach yourself a little bit. You kind of got.
Do you remember what your 4 were?
I know it was Lululemon. I think it was Apple. And then I think it was like Athleta or something, which went out of business. So, my 9th grade self would be very sad about that one. And then I think he put it in something. I don't really know. But I mean, it's still fun though, like to be able to have that. And he did that for me and both my siblings. So we've all got a footprint on the stock market, and I don't know how well it's doing, but it's there. Yeah.
So Madison's was Apple, Taco Bell.
Oh, okay.
And it's so funny. And I'll wrap up with this final story. She goes into Taco Bell today, and you know how sometimes they'll give you like 10 packs of stuff. Mm-hmm. She'll pull out 8 of them and she'll push them on the counter and she'll say, I'm an investor. We don't need to be wasteful. And then she'll turn around and she'll walk away. Funny. And some 16-year-old kid that's, at the counter is like, what in the world just happened?
Oh, that's so
And funny. So that's the way she feels though, because she took ownership.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In something that she owns. Yeah. And she likes that. And that's just kind of a
funny,
cool thing.
Yeah.
Vivi, this has been a blast.
It's been so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
These couple episodes, and we could go on for hours, but RJ, I guess we're going to have to wrap up here. But this was part 2, and good luck on your junior year. Thank you. I will say, you'll hear me say this one time, hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.
Okay.
But before you go, how about some contact information?
All right.
Yes, my Instagram, Vivi Spotswood. Same with my TikTok, and
Okay. So follow Vivi. I don't know much about Pilates, but apparently we're going to all learn about Pilates.
Yes. My Instagram. So there's some stories.
Awesome. And CMC Financial is cmcfp.com. All of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then also our YouTube. My direct number, call or text 205-510-9074.
Awesome. And thank you for listening to the Financial Puzzle Playbook podcast. We ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review because this actually helps others find the show. Again, thank you for listening, and for Jim and everyone at Financial Puzzle Playbook. I'm RJ Malik, and we'll see you at the next podcast.